Hey, I'm Johny Casebeer. Welcome to Slacker Sessions. This is a video series where I answer common questions we get on the website about bike setup and the Slacker digital suspension tuner. So another question I get a lot on the website is just, does static sag even matter? What does that mean? Why does it even matter if I set my rider sag? So static sag is super important for two reasons. It's going to tell you have the correct spring rates on the bike, and it's also going to tell you if the suspension is healthy. I'll get a new bike, I'll set it to 105. I don't look at the static sag until I get my rider sag set. Once the rider sag's set, I'll step off the bike and I'll see the static sag right on Slacker. That should be between 25 to 40 millimeters. If you're on either side of that, it means that you have the wrong spring on the bike. So if you have too much static sag, the spring is too stiff and it didn't take much preload to hold the rider up. If you have too little static sag, you really had to crank on the preload on the spring to hold the rider up, and now the back end is really high sprung. So that's super important. You got to make sure that you have the right spring rates, but you don't ever look at that number really until after you set the rider sag. Once I get my bike, I get it set up, I know my static sag's good, I know I got the right springs, I still look at that. Every time I check my sag, I step off and I look at my static sag, because that'll tell me if it's not at around 38 where I usually like it, it'll tell me there's some issue with my suspension. It's either got some stiction, a seal's blown out, something's wrong and it's not settling the way it used to. So that's always a good indicator that you've got, need to, grease your linkage, have the shock serviced, any of that. So always check the static sag, get the spring right at first, but always check it too whenever you check your rider sag, and that way you can make sure that the bike doesn't have any suspension issues and the suspension is healthy before you go out on the track.